Good morning, class. Today, I am going to introduce you to CDA, or Critical Discourse Analysis. Our main reference is Norman Fairclough's Analyzing Discourse. For a start, let's have a review on systemic functional linguistics and text. Functional approaches to language have emphasized the multifunctionality of texts. SFL, for instance, claims that texts simultaneously have ideational, interpersonal, and textual functions. That is, texts simultaneously represent aspects of the world: the physical world, the social world, the mental world. Pause. 1. Enact social relations between participants in social events and the attitudes, desires, and values of participants, and coherently and cohesively connect parts of texts together, and connect texts with their situational contexts. Or rather, people do these things in the process of meaning-making in social events, which includes texturing, making texts. One feature in discourse analysis is doing nominalization. Consider the sentence.
The modern world is swept by change. Change in Tony Blair's statement is a nominalization. Others understand this as multinational corporations in collaboration with governments are changing the world in a variety of ways.
To Fowler, in Fairclough, on the topic nominalization. Instead of representing processes, which are taking place in the world as processes. Pause. 1. They are represented as entities, grammatically, through nominalization, that is, transforming a clause into a nominal or noun-like entity. Another one, discursive strategy, is meronymy. Now read the example above. Notice in particular the semantic relation which is set up between negative culture and being totally suspicious of change. Looking for the ripoff. Trying to get one over on them. Demarcation lines. Inflexible and destructive. We can see this as the texturing of a semantic relation of meronymy, that is, a relation between the whole, the negative culture, and its parts. No dictionary would identify such a semantic relation between these expressions. The relation is textured by the manager ***. We can attribute this meaning-making to the manager as a social agent. As for Fairclough, we can say that discourse figures in three main ways in social practice. It figures as genres, or the ways of acting gives us an example, such as an interview. Discourses, or the ways of representing, tells us discourses are representations of the material world, of other social practices, reflexive self-representations of the practice in question. And the third one is styles, or ways of being. An example would be the underscore the style of a particular type of president of a country, that is his or her way of using language as a resource for self-identifying. So, social practice will always involve genres, discourses ***, and styles. Social practice then can be viewed in the text. Text has relation to the event, to the wider physical and social world, and to the persons involved in the event. There are three types of text meaning one can extract from critically analyzing a text. These are action, representation, and identification. Our example is when an interviewer discusses with the interviewee this statement: the culture in successful businesses is different from in failing businesses. What is represented here, representation, is a relation between two entities, which is that X is different from Y. The sentence is also, action, an action, which implies a social relation. The manager is giving the interviewer information, telling him something, and that implies in broad terms a social relation between someone who knows and someone who doesn't. The social relations of this sort of interview are a specific variant of this, the relations between someone who has knowledge and opinions and someone who is eliciting them. Informing, advising, promising, warning, and so forth are ways of acting. The sentence is also identification, an undertaking, a commitment, a judgment, in saying, is different, rather than, is perhaps different or, may be different, the manager is strongly committing himself. When we analyze specific texts, therefore, as part of specific events, we are doing two interconnected things. First, looking at them in terms of the three aspects of meaning, action, representation, and identification ***, and how these are realized in the various features of texts, their vocabulary, their grammar, and so forth. Secondly, making a connection between the concrete social event and more abstract social practices by asking, which genres, discourses, and styles are drawn upon here, and how are the different genres, discourses, and styles articulated together in the text ***. CDA can also be seen in mediation of texts. Many texts are mediated by the mass media _. Mediation, according to Silverstone, involves the movement of meaning from one social practice to another, from one event to another, and from one text to another. This partly depends upon more complex processes of textual mediation of social events, and more complex chaining and networking relations between different types of text, facilitated through new communication technologies, notably the Internet. And the capacity to influence or control processes of mediation is an important aspect of power in contemporary societies. Moving on. Doing text analysis in critical discourse analysis can be done in terms of the internal relations and external relations of the texts. Let us talk first of the external relations. Pause. 1. The analysis of the external relations of texts is analysis of their relations with other elements of social events and, more abstractly, social practices and social structures. Analysis of relations of texts to other elements of social events includes analysis of how they figure in actions, identifications, and representations. Now, let's take up the internal relations in the text. Analysis of the internal relations of texts includes analysis of semantic relations, grammatical relations ***, and vocabulary or lexical relations, meaning relations between words and longer expressions, between elements of clauses, between clauses and between sentences, and over larger stretches of text. For grammatical relations, this is between morphemes in words. For example, sick and ness, as in sickness. Then between words in phrases such as in, between definite article, the adjective, old, and noun, house, in, the old house. Pause. 1. Between phrases within clauses and between clauses in sentences. The last one is vocabulary or lexical relations. This is about relations of collocation. That is, patterns of co-occurrence between items of vocabulary, words or expressions. The relations between the discourse, semantic, and grammatical and vocabulary levels. Underscore are relations of realization, according to Halliday. That is, interdiscursive relations between genres, discourses and styles are realized, or instantiated, as semantic relations, which are realized as grammatical and vocabulary relations. Now we have three themes in social research in CDA using textual analysis. The first one is social difference. The salience of particular social identities, be it those of women, of lesbians, of ethnic groups, and so forth. Underscore has become more pronounced underscore. Second, the universal and the particular. How particulars come to be represented as universals. How particular identities, interests, representations come under certain conditions to be claimed as universal. This issue can be framed within questions of hegemony, of the establishment, maintenance and contestation of the social dominance of particular social groups. The last one is ideology. We are looking at the ideological significance of assumptions in text. Now we shall talk more about ideology. A lot of research today are directed to extracting ideology and power through the lens of critical discourse analysis. One of the causal effects of texts which has been of major concern for critical discourse analysis is ideological effects. It refers to the effects of texts in inculcating and sustaining or changing ideologies. Ideologies are representations of aspects of the world which can be shown to contribute to establishing, maintaining, and changing social relations of power, domination, and exploitation. Underscore this critical view of ideology, seeing it as a modality of power, contrasts with various descriptive views of ideology as positions, attitudes, beliefs, perspectives, etc. of social groups, without reference to relations of power and domination between such groups. Pause. 1. Ideological representations can be identified in texts, but that ideologies are representations which can be shown to contribute to social relations of power and domination. Textual analysis needs to be framed in this respect in social analysis, which can consider bodies of texts in terms of their effects on power relations. Now you will have readings to work on today. Thank you for listening. Voice emphasis, hi. Happy New Year.